Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So tonight's video might be a little shorter than usual because we're going to be taking a look at an Instagram reel. And these don't last for very long at all, maybe 30 seconds, but I'll get what I've been sent up on screen and we'll have a look and see what's going on. Okay, and that's then the end of that particular reel. So this is posted by Singers Being Singers. And the heading is The Way They Perfectly Stay in the Key. And I see a lot of things like this where there are maybe comments or even the title of the video or, you know, the shorts or the reel, whatever it might be, will be something like, check out these amazing singers and isn't it great the way they're harmonizing and all of this kind of stuff. And the comments really do follow suit. But again, as you can probably tell, it's not quite as it seems, which is interesting because if you are watching that video and listening to it, it sounds like a live performance. And you think, well, surely the vocals wouldn't be edited from something that sounds so natural. But I've already kind of given it away. So what we're going to do is bring up on screen the pitch monitoring software. So now we can have a listen to it and see what's going on. So we're immediately straight over the B4. I mean, you could say we're maybe, I don't know, slightly above the line, but well, anyway, I'll let it play on. And we have another example here, the B4, where we are absolutely over the line. But I'd say that this isn't really either heavily edited or auto-tuned, because it might be the case that they are singing live and they all have, or they're going through, or they all have auto-tune. So that they're going through it, because we know that auto-tune can now be offset. So it will give a value that will be maybe slightly above the line or slightly below the line. I think we had one a little bit earlier on, like this, slightly below the line, but then everything else is centered over the line. So I'll let this play through a little bit more. But this kind of thing, when you are absolutely over the B4 to 0 cents, yeah, there's something going on there. And the fact that we've got multiple voices that are coming through and registering as this. And here, down on the line, A sharp 4, B4. Even there, just going down. Perfectly on top of the line. Here again, holding the F sharp 4. And perfectly over the F sharp 5. So what's happening here, for people that maybe don't understand what I'm saying, these vocals are tuned. They don't sound like this naturally. So, I mean, you're going to have to take everything nowadays with a pinch of salt when you watch it, even if it's a channel or an account that's called Singers Being Singers, and they might be praising the singers that are being featured, but they've been tuned. So there's no way that they're not going to sing perfectly on these lines because their voices are set to be on these lines. So yeah, we'll listen on. And it's this kind of thing where, you know, we come down from the A sharp 4 and then we just snap straight onto the F sharp 4. And it's basically any held note, you know, it's going to be kind of attracted to that. And then it stops. So then with the vibrato, again, perfectly over the line, maybe a little bit, a little bit sharp here, allowed to go for just a couple of wobbles of vibrato. Then we come down again. And this is one of those videos where I think people watching it wouldn't necessarily think that a performance like this would be either auto-tuned or pitch corrected because it looks so authentic. But this is the point, that everything that you see on the internet is not authentic. The only thing that is authentic is on Authentic Vocal, my other project that I have. But as you guys know, over there, I only feature authentic vocals, so it won't be anything like this. It'll just be genuinely live and natural performances. So this got me thinking, with this tuning that we've got, how about we compare it to Whitney Houston in the studio recording the original to see how, I was going to say how she stacks up, but how they stack up to her, because they'll never, ever, you know, thinking realistically and in the real world, they'll never be more accurate than Whitney Houston in the studio when she's doing multiple takes and trying to get this as accurate as possible. So what we'll do is we will let it play through, and I'm going to mute actually Whitney's vocal. So when I say about Whitney Houston in the studio, potentially, you know, the most accurate you're ever going to see, before we start on the line and we just drift a little bit sharp. So I'm going to say that that is probably a draw. Again, remember that the video on the right is live. This isn't Whitney live. This is in controlled conditions, maybe taken from multiple takes. But let's listen on. Uh-oh. And Whitney has gone AWOL. She's gone flat of the B4, whereas the singers on the right have maintained their pitch. When I say they've maintained their pitch, we know what's happening to the vocal on the right. But this one on the left, Whitney has lost there, so that's a point for accuracy to the live vocal. Oh, interestingly there, I'm going to call that a draw. A sharp 4, slightly sharp from Whitney, and slightly flat here from the singers. Oh, and again, Whitney here, unfortunately, is flat of the B4. And I know that this is all a bit tongue-in-cheek because everybody, when they're singing, especially a Whitney Houston song, they're just hoping to get anywhere close to the original, to try and sell the song. And Whitney's vocal is going to be the ultimate. So having something that is tuned is going to be too perfect. And this is the point, that this is the ultimate. So why tune your vocals if the original vocal you're aiming for wasn't tuned in the first place? It doesn't really make any sense to me. And again, look at Whitney in the studio. What I'm going to do is show you the difference between a vocal that is tuned digitally and a vocal that is really accurate naturally. So I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to take a look at this one first. So this is Whitney's voice. And I just want you to try and see where we're going here with these movements. There are really subtle movements within this line that might look relatively straight when we're quite far out. But as soon as we get up close, we can see the variation of where Whitney's voice went. Now, if I move over here, the same note that is tuned, look at how it differs. If you were trying to look at this note and analyze it, you'd say, well, that is so perfectly over the line all the time. The only variation we get is just these tiny bits at the end. But this is absolutely uniform on the line. Let's go back to a natural voice. And where's this uniform part that sticks over A440? Standard pitch, equal temperament. It doesn't exist because this is the natural voice. And vocal cords are not calibrated to A440, which means you'll get all these tiny little movements going on. But anyway, again, you could say technically that Whitney there was less accurate than these singers who are performing live. And again, the wheels have totally come off from Whitney's original release, because look at how she's... I'm going to zoom in just so you can see a little bit more clearly. Look at how off Whitney is here. She comes down and she doesn't even actually touch this line until here. But all of this is sharp. But we come over here and look at how accurate these live singers are. Absolutely perfectly over the line. So another good example there. Again, Whitney's lost out there. And here, I mean, if we're being strict about it, you'd say again the live singers are more accurate because Whitney just dips flat and then comes back up again by the end. And right, we're going to have a look at this again. So, comparing the natural voice to a tuned voice, let's zoom in again and let's try and catch where that is. It's right up at the top, so I'm going to have to move it. So you can see here, again, this calibration that we've got absolutely over that line. When we now go over to Whitney's voice, which is natural, have a look at the variation again. It's absolute night and day from a natural voice to then a tuned voice, because the variation you'll get here, this is all just vocal cord vibrations that are causing the pitch to move. Of course, when you listen to it, it sounds great, it sounds consistent, and this note is amazing. And if you can hear auto-tune and pitch correction, this sounds like this. It sounds like it is calibrated and there's no variation, there's no subtlety, there's no expression. There's nothing in this other than a keyboard, like listening to somebody press a key on a keyboard. And I guarantee you that nobody has ever pressed a note on a keyboard and then everyone stopped in the room and go, whoa, did you guys hear that? Do that again. And then you press the key and they go, whoa, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. It doesn't work that way. This is the kind of thing that you hear and you go, oh, because you only hear the calibration. You don't really hear the note being sung because it hasn't really been sung. That's what I'm saying in a lot of my videos, that this isn't the human voice. This is the noise of the human voice being calibrated. So yeah, there's no variation whatsoever. And then the original that they're trying to emulate goes like this. So why not get rid of the tuning and try your best to emulate this, to sing these notes naturally? And we'll watch on. Again, technically, Whitney, wheels have come off there again. Actually, looking at the end of this line, that was sharp. And then she went in between notes here. But this is what great voices do. They are inaccurate because of the expression they have in their voice. And when I say that, inaccurate, it's not actually true. This is massively accurate, but it can't compete with 2025 and digital pitch correction and auto-tune. It's something that's going to be plotting on A440. And there, oh, you could say maybe, I know that this is pretty much over the line, but I'm going to call that a draw between left and right. Even though here, the singers live were absolutely over the B4, and Whitney was between notes again here. So, yeah, unfortunately, the wheels came off early, and she hasn't been able to rectify it yet. And here, look, between notes come down, and then we go up between notes again, and the live singers are absolutely centered over their sharp 4. So, again, unfortunately, Whitney loses out there. And here, you know, pretty much over the line. There's a little hook that we have that goes above the line, but then Whitney is sharp of that all the time. And she only comes down to the line right at the end. So again, that's another win for the live singers. And, you know, here, kind of descending. And here, I think this is because on the right-hand side, we've got more extemporization going on. So they're hitting different lines or holding on notes where Whitney would change. But here at the end, on this B4, hitting a different note but centered. And here we actually go up and through the note with Whitney. So technically, that's not as accurate. And yeah, I was just waiting to have that note held at the end. And here, I mean, you can say that Whitney is a little bit sharp. If you're to draw a line through that, pretty much on the button, but the expression is something that she had in her voice with vibrato that would push it a little bit sharp, whereas, yeah, here's absolutely centralized. So, I mean, it does show, you know, for me, how crazy it is to be tuning literally everything, because like I said, this is one of those performances that you would think, well, it just looks like it's a live performance, but we're still getting tuned vocals even in these really short videos of what seems like totally unedited live performances. So there you go. And whether it is auto-tuned live or post-pitch corrected, I can't speak to that or make a decision on that. I would like to think that it has been post-pitch corrected, but it might be the case now that even singers like this are using auto-tune live. Again, that because auto-tune has moved on so much that you can now program it in to have a differential so that you're not over the lines all the time. You're just slightly sharp, slightly flat. So it's kind of going full circle, but it's never going to work because you're still working on the premise of a digital process and a processor adjusting your voice to try to make it sound good. But a voice sounds good when it's not tuned and somebody is a great singer. You can't reverse engineer that. You can't go, because how does the technology know where to place a note depending on the feeling that singer's having at that precise millisecond? Because that's what's happening, is the singer is putting into their vocal their expression at that millisecond, and a computer can't predict that. If you say to a computer, right, predict which note I'm going to hit, of course it's going to go, well, I don't know, hit the note first and then I'll move it or make the singer get close to that note. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to give you the note. You place the note first, and then I'll sing the note that I'm going to sing, and I'm going to sing it as accurately as I can, but you try and place this note before I sing it. Of course, it's impossible, and that's why it doesn't work the other way around. And that's another thing, that if you were to reverse engineer it, you'd have to now try and attribute a pitch value to particular words as to how emotionally affected the singer is by what they're singing about, because different words have different meanings. Different meanings elicit different emotional responses. Different emotional responses result in a different pitch because of the way that it's being sung and all of those things that are expressed. So this is why when a vocal's on the line all the time, it's just going to sound the same, because there's been no extra emotion put into that lyrical content, because it's the word that you're saying now is exactly the same as the word that you were saying in the first verse, or all of those words, and the second verse, and the chorus, and the middle eight. All of the expression is the same. Whereas when you watch a great singer, they'll hit you with notes that are ever so slightly sharp and flat, because of the meaning of the song and the words they're saying at that time, to, like I said, link in that emotional response. But anyway, this might be a shorter video for tonight, or it might not, because I started comparing it to Whitney Houston in the studio. But anyway, thank you guys for sending the original video to me, and keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!